vote, most of them would say probably. What do you think? Absolutely. So the main problem, the main issue is, it's not that they do not want to. They're not interested. They're not being interested. The subject is not being portrayed as boring one, requiring a lot of time spending and studying on the subject, which is absolutely not true. As you all know, I came from Ukraine, and it's a country where science is a must. And I know a lot from my Indian friends that math, chemistry, physics is also a must. But at the same time, it's made the way it's being taught at school, it's interesting. You want to be in lab, you want to do those science projects instead of maybe going dancing. Also, to tell you the truth, I was also forced to take the dance classes. This is one of the reasons why they're just not interested. They want to go and do something else. It doesn't end at the regular school. It also goes into college. Those who go to college, oh, it's too difficult. I hear from my son's friends, oh, it's difficult. I don't want to do it. I'll take marketing instead. I will go into business law. It's easier. You have to sit and study a lot and do the labs and projects. Oh, those people, another cause is those who did go to school, got their STEM degree, went into learn chemistry, learn science, technology, mathematics, they're retiring. Some of them, it's impossible to locate. It's difficult to find the right person with the right knowledge that you need. So what's the effects? I probably will have to go faster. It definitely has an impact on innovations. Decreases productivity, impedes global expansion, and just makes the combination of shortage of talent causes organizations to overstretch to strain their existing talent. So what it means for people who are not really knowledgeable, they are somehow forced to do the job maybe they not really feel comfortable with or qualified. So these are the solutions, and I'll stop on the fourth one, which has to do with immigration strategy and optimization. So what we're talking about is OPT extension in this case. So 24-month OPT extension, STEM OPT extension, see the students, they're happy, they want to stay here. And this is the date where, as I mentioned, came into effect. After long discussion and me reading the Federal Register in comments, in the beginning when they posed this rule of making for discussions and some issues that I read, it didn't make sense to me. But then when everything was decided and you go to the Federal Register and you start reading the comments, and it does. In the beginning, if it didn't make sense, for example, why would not every employer would be eligible to use this program? So when the discussion went on, it became clear that maybe not for everybody. It's a good thing. They have more time to stay here, to apply for H-1B cap, for the employers to use them. But unfortunately, it made clear that not every employer would qualify to use this program. So STEM. Who doesn't know what STEM stands for? Is there anybody in the room doesn't know what STEM stands for? Stupid question, probably. But it's for students who come here, international students. They come here. They want to study, as I mentioned. They want to study science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they have to find the employer who is, skip a little bit. They're pursuing a degree. They finish their degree, and now they have an option to apply for practical training, and they're authorized to perform work for your company in the field which is directly to their studies. So the question that comes out sometimes, I received the I-20s. For most of the group here is IT specialist, and I receive I-20s, and I look at the I-20, and the question is, can you help me? Is it really, can I help this student? And I look at the I-20, and if you don't know, it's a form that is obtained at CVIS and given by the school to the student, and the degree on the I-20 stands for, I would say, give you the example. The position that they're applying is the software developer applications, and then the degree that they're pursuing is in manufacturing engineering. So the question is, can they help that student? Do you have a job for the field of study that that person is pursuing? And in some cases is not. So the bottom line is, if you do have looking for employment OPT, that employment has to be related to your field of study. So not everybody, you IT, and you can accept somebody who is having, if you deal with the chemical engineers, absolutely. But if your IT and your job positions that you can offer for them are related to IT, then the answer is no. So this slide is about different forms of OPT, and unfortunately, due to time constraints, I'll have to skip it. So we're now dealing with those students who are already in OPT. They had 12 months. Now they want to stay longer, and then it amounts to 24 months. So the total is 36. This is the normally application process for them to determine whether they are eligible. They submit to the party DSO, then to the OCS, and there's a decision on the application, and the employers. So now, with the new regulations, the two important, I would say, parties, which will have lots of interactions. Actually it's three, but two out of the three normally will be dealing together are employers and students. So we will go further and I'll explain you why. DSO, I think the whole regulation was not to burden them too much. They still have some responsibilities, with regard to the students, but the interaction and the more responsibilities, the attestations which are made, falls on the students and the employer. So the first party in the whole scheme, we're concentrating on the employer. So we'll go through the eligibility, reporting requirements, ensuring compliance, and I will stop a little bit on the side visit. So as you all heard, through most of the presentations, compliance, compliance, compliance. It looks like it becomes a big issue, and this is one of the new ones that the employer will have to see to make sure, take necessary measures to make sure that you guys, so the employer company, stay in compliance with the new ruling. So what do you have to do? What exactly, if you have to consider what the employer must look forward to. We will talk further about the training plans and in more detail, but the bottom line is the employer who will be signing the training plan is the employer who needs also provide the training at the client side. So I've never seen the interaction that you have the student and the student will work at your headquarters. So normally they placed at the client locations. And then the question is, can I be the employer who will review or create the training plan? And then, however, I will not have anybody to provide the training which I just created, all this with the student. And the answer is no. So the next slide is all about, I'll have to, the second portion of the slide is, in the beginning when I started, will every employer, or employment, I would say, arrangement qualify for 24 STEM OPT extension? And again, it has to be reviewed on the circumstances, the employment arrangements, and unfortunately the answer is no. So sole proprietorship. If I'm very adventurous and I went to school in the United States and I do know that I have enough guts to open up the business, and I know I have created a business plan and I will be a sole shareholder. What do you think? Is it possible will it be a good employment arrangements? Will I get the approval of a 24-month STEM extension? What do you think? Nobody? Okay. So the answer is no. Because if I am the CEO in the company that I created, who will be signing the training plan? Unfortunately, the rule is you can't. You cannot sign on your behalf. You cannot create the training plan. You cannot sign on your behalf and train yourself. The whole purpose of the program is to go through the training. So there must be enough resources to train you. You cannot train yourself. There's no benefit. So multiple employment arrangements. So again, going from H-1B category, it kind of shifted onto OPT. There's a necessity to prove the employee-employee relationship. If the employment arrangement involves multiple parties, multiple vendors, there could be definitely that employee-employee relationship is lost. So the fact that I created the training plan, which I signed and I attested on the form I-983, it doesn't mean that I will be the one who will be training that person at the client sites. So that model also will have to be reviewed. Definitely not the temp agencies, because they don't know what you're doing. They're just placing you, and they let others tell you what to do. So we'll be probably out of that program. So eligibility requirements. You probably know there's a new guidance just came up. It was published in August 2016, and most of you maybe know how to sign yourself for E-Verify. But there is a new manual that can be found on the USCIS website, uscis.gov, which will tell you how to register yourself. But in order to qualify for that, the employee must be enrolled into E-Verify program. I included the website that you can go and read about it. So basically, this is the system which allows you to sign yourself, and unfortunately, once you do, you'll have to do for everybody. So you cannot just choose, I'm doing for F1s, I'm not going to do for H-1Bs employees. So once you sign, your employment verification for everybody in your company will have to be done through the E-Verify. Now, what's different? What is different from the 17 months extension? Can I have the student come and tell him, you know, you're still being trained, and I will pay you less. I have a US worker who is being paid for this kind of job, this amount of money. But because you're being trained, can I pay you less? And it's no longer the case. So if you do decide to use the services of a student and you will sign the training plan, the new ruling says that that salary compensation must be in line with the similarly situated US worker. And it's not just the job. It's not just the salary. It's everything. You know, if for this you have normal time, full-time employment is 40 hours, you cannot just let them know, that's okay, you're being trained, you can work for 60 hours now. So it has to do with the duties, hours, and compensation. When I read the I-983 the first time, I look at the attestation that the employee must make on that form, and they are serious. It's not, you know, if I had to do it and we consider, do I want to sign this, I would probably have a second thought just to make sure that we'll be able to comply. Again, we're talking about compliance, not to violate the law. So what are the attestations? I pulled the main one from the form. So you have to attest that you have enough resources to train that person. So if you do place somebody at the client location, you cannot just let the manager for that client to train that person. So that employee-employee relationship ceases to exist. So you're basically killing the approach, and if you do agree to that, you're violating the law. You cannot do that. So you have to attest that if you do sign this training plan, you have to be the same entity, you have to be the same employer who will provide the training to the student at the client side. And another one, that you will not replace a US worker. 2 minutes? Sorry guys, I have 2 minutes left. So I will probably concentrate more on compliance. So compliance. So as your employer, what would you have to take into consideration? I outline a couple of them. So do you have enough resources to maintain to create the department, which will be handling 9 and 3s? Any documents maintained, do you have to consider, if you start paying them, do you have to prove that the wages you pay to them is similar to as you paying to the U.S. worker? Because the ICE can knock at your door and say, give me a proof. Is it the good decision to keep another document? Do you have official that you will be enough representative for the company who will have authority to sign 993? The official responsible for monitoring students and signing the evaluations. As you know, they have to self-evaluate themselves within 12 months. Who is responsible to notify a DSO if the student decides to quit or you fire him? So all those questions to take into considerations and maybe create a specific policy or department who will handle if you do anticipate having lots of STEM OPT students on your staff. New enforcement provisions and I found that STEM Hub was really useful. There are useful information that can be found for you guys, and you can read about it. It's very explanatory. I didn't find any confusing portions. I would say it's as the government creates this, that it's going to be confusing, it won't be useful. Now, I mentioned a little bit, and unfortunately, probably don't have a lot of time, but there's a separate slide about ICE visits. EU FDNS office comes and checks on you with regard to H-1Bs, employees, making sure that you're complying with the terms of employment. This is something similar that they will be doing for your STEM OPT students. What you as employer, what will you have to do? As I mentioned, there will be some reporting requirements. You will have to review students' annual self-evaluation and sign it and attest it. Any change into existing form. So you completed the form and the job changes. Do you have to notify something? This is one thing that you will have to report. And one of those material changes are that your company is going through the corporate restructuring. You're being bought out. You're merging with somebody, with another entity. So all of those considered material changes, thus requiring informing a DSO. You reviewed your salary increments. You reviewed your salary charts, and you realize that for this kind of job that the student will perform, or similar U.S. workers are performing, you will be paying less. So any salary reduction. Or even the changes in the whole training plan. So this would probably constitute a material change, and DSO must be informed. When do you have to inform the DSO that the student is no longer employed in your employment? You have to report, you have 5 business days. So the rule is departure date is either date the employee knows the student has left the OPT, or the date after 5 consecutive days without student reporting for you. So they decided not to come back. Jake, do you have time? We have to stop. So on that note, the site that I think all of you guys probably, I will just stop really quickly, browse through, is why? Why do the Department of Homeland Security has to check? And the check is to make sure that what you wrote in your training plan, you're complying with. What do you normally expect? How do you prepare? The question is, can they interview the student and not just talk to you? Absolutely. Can they request you to go ahead and review the formal plan? And the answer is yes. So unfortunately, I will have to stop on this slide.
Thank you, Marianna.
My apologies.
Thank you. Come. Okay, Shruti. You wanted to do a poll, right? Check the audience here.
Yeah, I think we can even do a show of hands if needed. Oh, you have it there. Great.
Yeah, we did it. So from the Slido app, if you are using the OPT program, why don't you put your vote there to show what your company is doing, if you're using it, if not, and to get a sense of how many people here are actually interested, or if this is relevant to them.
Yeah, while, while I think the voting continues, I think, let me kind of give you a little perspective here. In terms of data, there are about 1 million international students in the US. So this is what I thought is very critical in this forum, to kind of bring out and say, how do you kind of address the skill gap or the talent gap in the US? The difficulty is getting into that 65,000 cap in the US during the cap season, and then getting all those L1 RFEs and denials and whatever. So with that happening, and there are these 1 million international students who are available, and then the US government earlier part of this year saying that we would be extending the STEM OPT from say 17 months to 24 months, which is after an initial 12 months, gives you a range of 36 months to make a decision about converting any of the hires in the US. So I thought this would be very useful for all the Indian IT companies who are really looking at getting their requirements in the US fulfilled. And this is one strategy that can be adopted in terms of looking at how to bring in the talent. And 3 years, to me, I mean, the way I look at it, from an industry perspective or a strategy perspective, is you are getting the talent locally. You are able to kind of look at them for a year, and then you can make a call to file an H1, because that's going to cost the company quite a bit of money again. And then, once you do their H1, you have 6-year term within which you can make a decision to move them on to a green card process or whatever. So there is this long-term plan.